Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. We are going to get started here. You are at the, if you don't know what building you're in, you are at the Creekside Success Center for the District 49 School Board Forum, sponsored by the, hosted, by the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region. So welcome. If you're here in person or virtually online, again, we record this so you can watch this at your convenience anytime. So we hope that you are an educated voter. We are here again with the League of Women Voters and our sponsors for the District 49 School Board Election Candidate Forum. We have gathered a few of the candidates this evening. We'll get into those, announcing all of those candidates in just a moment. And to answer your questions, the voters. So we have a few here. My name is Shelley Roars, and I am the spokesperson for the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region and your host this evening. There's a couple of moderators here as well. Before I introduce them and get to the candidates, District 49, we do this all over the Pikes Peak region. And District 49 is exhausted from the drama. I understand. I do not live in District 49. However, we hosted a forum right here, opposite end of the room where we were set up, just 2 years ago. And every candidate attended. So that tells you how things are going in District 49 right now. And that is just my perception as the spokesperson and my personal opinion, but 2 years ago, this was a very different room. So I don't want to start off on a negative note. I've had a very long day. I apologize. It's probably kind of a downer, but I see a huge difference, so we want to kind of note that. Your moderators this evening, Mr. Mike Williams from Citizens Project is right here to my right, and Miss Jamie Bell, a senior at Falcon High School. So thank you for joining us as your moderators. Candidates who are attending, candidates that are running for District 49 School Board. You have Mike Hail. He is running unopposed in District 5 and not here this evening. He wanted to be here this evening but was unable to. He had a family event, so we wish him well. Marie Levere Wright is here. She is running in DD3. Candace Lehman is here with us this evening. She is running in DD2. And we also, as full transparency, Candace is a League of Women Voter member. So just know that we'll get into how the League is nonpartisan, which your school board elections are supposed to be nonpartisan. Ginger Raylene Vord, also running in DD3, has declined to attend our event. And Miss Deborah Schmidt, running in DD2, has also declined to attend our event. Our timekeeper this evening, a League member, Mr. Bob Garrett, candidates, he's right there in your front row. Just keep an eye on him. Your question takers, for those of you who are in the audience or attending online, you can post those questions, but Denny and Terry Weber are here, as well as Kelly Perry, and Joan. So you can give any of those League members, and Tammy's also here as a League member. She's sorry. Any of those volunteers can take your questions. Voter service team. We are about educated voters. We do not care who you vote for. We want you to vote in every election, which again, school board elections are going on right now. This is a voter service team outreach event. So that is all kudos to them. So thank you for putting this together to that team. Dave Gardner and Gavin Picard, a fellow redhead, handling our audio and video needs. Yeah, I get a little saucy when I'm tired. So you'll hear a little bit of a different host this evening. Huge thank you to our co-sponsors, Black and Latino Leadership Coalition, Citizens Project, Colorado Latinos Vote, KRCC, Colorado Springs NAACP, Studio 809 Podcasts, and Together Colorado Faith Table. We could not do these events without you. We all believe in the same thing, again, getting voters to vote, right, and registering voters. So thank you for those sponsors. Mike's going to talk a little bit about Citizens Project here in just a moment. Are there any other sponsors? No, okay. Any elected officials with us this evening that I may have missed coming in? No? I'm sorry, John Graham? My bad. Excuse me, John Graham, the D49 president, is here with us this evening. So thank you, John, for attending. Appreciate you. Do we have anyone running for office that is not a school board candidate here with us this evening? Anybody running for a different office? No? Okay. Little bit about the league. Again, I mentioned we are nonpartisan. It's one of the most important things about us. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. We are a membership organization. All of us are volunteers, and we are not just for women. As you can see, we do have some men here this evening helping out, and student membership is free. So it doesn't cost you a thing. For those that are civically engaged, civically minded, and love what we do, this is a passion for us to do this. We would appreciate you just asking one of us about it. We do not, this is where the nonpartisan stuff comes in, we do not support nor endorse candidates. But we do sometimes take a stance on certain issues. So that might be something that we would love to have a discussion with you on. But do know that we do not support or endorse any candidates. Video of this event will remain available on our LWV PPR YouTube channel. So again, you can watch it in your pajamas one night, 10 o'clock, when you're just wanting to educate yourself. Also available on our podcast, Making Democracy Work. Thank you, Studio 809 Podcast. You can find all of our links on our website at lwvppr.org. Vote411.org, the candidates. You should have, if you have not received a link to a survey, questions that our members have designed for you and put out there, and we hope that you fill that out, because voters can then go to vote411.org as soon as you get your ballots around October 16th or so. When they drop is when it goes live, and you can get some more answers and more education about your candidates in this area. And we do hope that those that are not attending this evening will take the time to complete that survey as well. So we would appreciate that. Your forum format this evening: candidates receive the forum rules. They will get 2 minutes to introduce themselves, followed by 30 seconds to 2 minutes each. Your moderators will be deciding based on the question, and maybe a lightning round or two, maybe, right, about some yes or no kind of questions. Please don't think those are gotcha questions. Some of us who are autistic, myself in this category, get to know candidates by yes or no questions. So those of you that are running for office, please understand that that might be something that might help some of your voters that are in this district as well. Moderators, please be sure and announce at the beginning of each question the time allotted for that answer. And candidates, please wrap up your thoughts when the timekeeper gives you that red stop sign. Audience members, please do not shout out during the forum. We do not clap after a candidate's answer. We wait until the very end to applaud them in applause. Silence your phones. In the restrooms, I have no idea where they are in this building, so I'm sure they're out that hallway. But if you need them, just go straight out. Any questions, again, give them to your volunteers, and my time is up, so I am to turn it over to you guys, so go ahead.
Thank you, Shelley, and thank you, League. My name is Mike Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Citizens Project. We've been in the Pikes Peak region for 31 years this year. We are a 501c3, so like Shelley mentioned, the League, we don't endorse any candidates, but we do take positions on issues. And one of our big primary things is getting voter engagement and civic engagement, especially with youth. We did an event this year called Beats and Ballots downtown Colorado Springs. There's about 1,500 people that came through that day. And a big goal of ours, again, is just to get people engaged in what's going on in their communities. We don't endorse candidates. And we're just excited to continue to partner with the League in getting more people educated, informed, and out to vote.
My name is Jamie Bell. I'm a senior at Falcon High School. I see everything that happens in District 49, and I'm excited for this new round of board members.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie's like the star, not the candidate. I'm joking, right? Candidates. But so we're going to start off with candidate introductions. As Shelley said, there will be 2 minutes each. We're going to start off with Candace, and then we're going to, after Candace, we're going to start off with Marie. We'll alternate questions back and forth, and then we will close in the opposite of how we open. So Candace, we'll remind you that at the end. So Candace, you have 2 minutes to do your introduction.
All right. Wanted to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm running. I retired to Colorado Springs in 2019 from St. Louis to be near family. I worked for a global chemical company for 38 years in various capacities, but my background's in biochemistry. I raised 3 kids and got them through college, so I understand how school boards work. So why am I running? Well, I heard the divisiveness and inflammatory rhetoric in districts all through Colorado and in District 49, so I decided to run. Hopefully I can bring back respect and dignity and still respond to all opinions. In my previous job, I had to deal with multiple departments that had different goals and aims and needs to present a concise packet to customers. So with this experience, I believe I can listen and hear all sides of an issue to put together protocols and policies for all the stakeholders in District 49. Our future depends on our children, and I'll be thrilled to support the District 49 implementing the cultural compass up there with values of respect, care, trust, and responsibility. Values that I espouse to and I instilled in my children. All of our children need to wake up in the morning feeling confident and happy in going to school. Growing up is hard enough and peer pressure is terrible. We cannot develop happy, well-rounded children if there's continual name-calling and squabbling. But again, all points of view are important, and when I'm elected, they'll be heard and discussed. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and I'm committed to giving transparent answers so that you can see that I am the best candidate to be on the school board.
Thank you. Marie, you have 2 minutes as well.
My name is Marie Lavier Wright, and I am an 18-year resident of the Falcon community. I taught at Falcon High for 3 years, and when I adopted my children, I became a parent in the zone instead of a teacher. And over the last 15 years, my children have attended schools in 3 different zones. My youngest 2 are now students at Falcon High, and I'm still an involved parent there. But I also have been invested in our community in a lot of other ways. At Falcon High, I've been on the Falcon SAC. I'm president of the Falcon High PTSA. I'm part of the Falcon Coalition. So when our school says help, I believe in rolling up my sleeves and saying, what can I do, rather than posting mean things on social media. And I think that part of what our community needs is someone who's invested and wants to be a part of the solution instead of a part of the rock throwing. I was on the board for 8 years, from 2011 to 2019, and much of what you see on the wall over there, Best Choice to Learn, Work, and Lead, so the mission and vision, the cultural compass, and the very first strategic plan were all built while I was a part of that team. And that happened because we were able to work together and respect one another and listen to our community. And I think that's what we need again. We all want our children to succeed. We all want our children to receive an excellent education. And we have far more in common than what we disagree with. And I think we need to work to find that commonality so we can help our schools and our children do better. Thank you.
Thank you. In 1 minute, Marie, what actions do you plan to take to support the D49 Cultural Compass?
I think first is by modeling the qualities that are outlined there. That has been one of my frustrations in attending board meetings, is both from what I have seen from some on the dais as well as from our community, the lack of respect and care and trust has been apparent. And the first thing you have to do when you want to change a culture is model the behavior you wish to see. And as a leader, that's the responsibility first of the board and the district leadership. And then when you can model it, you can expect it of other people. So that is the first piece. And then we have to be honest and hold one another accountable to it. And when someone says, hey, hold off, we all make mistakes, be willing to take the feedback when someone lets you know that that crossed over a line or that hurt someone. So I think that's the very first step. And then it's all about consistency. That's what we learned from the very beginning when I was on the board. The way we rebuilt trust was making sure that we were consistent about and transparent about how we communicated and how we related to one another. So I think that's the first step.
Thank you. Candace.
Well, I think tonight you're going to see a lot of Marie and I agreeing on things, but I think what she said is correct. In order to implement the rocks and the trust, respect, care, and responsibility, you've got to emulate it. You've got to be up there. You've got to talk seriously. You've got to listen. You've got to hear. No yelling, no screaming, no name calling. And if you do that, again, you'll get it back. The people in the audience will respect you, and you can hear the answers and the questions and respond in an appropriate manner and gain people's trust.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute, and we'll start with Candace. What are the most pressing issues in the District 49 community, and how can you help solve those?
This is when I practiced, so I'm very prepared for this, I think. We have the COVID issues of the children coming back from isolation. We have to, I don't know if the word is retrain, but we have to re-socialize and learn to get along with one another again. We have to ensure that we have choice, and choice keeps coming up in our district. And we have to protect our school environment so the kids can go to school and feel safe. And we have to ensure the success of all of our kids. And to do this, we need to empower the administration to review the current protocols and look and see how they can improve those protocols to help those 4 pillars for the kids. And then once those new protocols are written and approved, we have to ensure that the schools have the resources to implement the new protocols to make everybody feel safe and happy and intelligent.
Thank you. Marie, same question.
I would agree that one of the most pressing issues is the learning loss that we have seen due to COVID, both in terms of academic and in terms of social emotional development. We have kids who missed 2 to 3 years of appropriate development because of that isolation, and that is going to impact our schools for the next decade. What that means in part is helping train adults on what supports our students need because of those missed developmental milestones. What a high school teacher may see now is something that they wouldn't have seen previously in their career. They're not used to dealing with kids who maybe are demonstrating middle schoolish behavior because they didn't go through that developmental stage with their peers. But that also means we need to be investing in our teachers and in our staff, both through the MLO, so that we can keep the people we're training, and by providing appropriate supports, increasing embedded supports in the classroom so that teachers aren't having to do this all alone, and engaging families, because families have to be a part of that solution.
Thank you. How will you work to support parent and teacher partnerships in 1 minute, Marie?
So a part of what I've been doing at Falcon High is we restarted the Falcon High PTSA last year with the encouragement of some other community members. And we have already seen a change in the parent and teacher engagement culture there, because the first thing we did was step up and do things like, as a community, can we bring a meal together for our teachers? Not PTA paying for it, but over 100 people providing a meal for Teacher Appreciation Week. We're going to have somewhere around 50 or 60 people helping to provide a chili cook-off meal this week. Starting to build those relationships over some community events is the first step to get people to re-engage. And I think that we need to be doing that at a wider level. As one parent at Falcon High, I can do a little bit. As a board member, I can encourage and champion that more.
Thank you. Candace.
And I think also the district website is very transparent. Teachers can put comment, the parents get emails about their kids, they can look at the curriculum, they can talk to sit in on classes. I asked the superintendent if somebody could come in and sit on a class, and he said yes. There's many things, not approve the curriculum, but review the curriculum, opt out of classes, and what Marie said, community projects together and teachers contacting parents. And it's hard. When a parent works and they've got 2 kids or they're a single parent, it's very hard to get involved. You're dead when you get home. I was there. But I think we could do it, and I think we have good baseline to improve that and get parents involved.
Thank you, Candace. This question was from the audience. 30 seconds. Why should I vote for a candidate that does not participate in student and district events and candidate forums?
Well, I imagine that if you really thought about it, you wouldn't. But I've been involved in community events in the last month or so. I've been to 3 or 4 events. I'm not saying those people who don't, I guess they're worth a look online, but if you don't meet them in person and you don't see their smile or shake their hand, why would you vote for them?
Thank you, Candace. Same question for Marie, 30 seconds.
Personally, I think a board member's job is to be here to listen to all parts of the community, not just the part that you closely align to. And so that sends a message if someone chooses not to participate in a student board of representatives, which had students from all of our schools, charter and district operated. That sends a message that concerns me as a parent about whether they want to listen to students. Not showing up to something like this concerns me in terms of whether they want people to know what they stand for. As a voter, I would not vote for someone who doesn't come to things like this.
In 1 minute, how will you put aside your own political aspirations to work effectively as a school board? Marie.
I personally don't have political aspirations. I'm not interested in a political position. This is nonpartisan, and I'm interested because it's my children's education and my community's education. But I think in terms of my own personal belief system, it's important to always look for what meets most people's needs and to listen first. We've worked through quite a few things when I was on the board where I had to listen carefully to other people's perspectives to understand why there was a concern. And often when we take the time to listen, we find we have more in common and we can find a solution that meets everyone's needs instead of just my own. And ultimately, it's not about what I think is best. It's about what our community as a whole wants for our children.
Thank you. Candace.
Well, like Marie, I have no political aspirations, and this is a nonpartisan job, so political belief should not even be on the table. But with my respect and dignity, I would listen to people talk and try to figure out where they're coming from and put together ways to make things work with people with different backgrounds and variabilities and beliefs. But political activism has no place on the board. You're supposed to advocate for the students and the teachers and the parents.
Thank you, Candace. This question will be 1 minute, and we will start with Candace. What role should the community play in supporting the education of children?
That's an important role. We should talk to the community about internships. I believe there was a new one with phlebotomy that was pretty awesome. But the community needs to be involved, ask questions, offer suggestions, and provide internships for the students.
Thank you. Marie, same question, 1 minute.
I think schools should be the heart of our community. And the more the community is involved, the better our children do, especially in our mobile society. I think the first thing is we can do things like reaching out to businesses for internships and student connections and support, but we also need volunteers. We need people to come into our classrooms and read to our students, help with homework, volunteer at different events. That doesn't have to just be parents, and it shouldn't just be parents. I think we should be promoting our events. Like tonight, there is a really amazing concert by the show choir at Falcon High, and that was put on the D49 website, but unless you follow that site, you might not know that you could go for free and enjoy an amazing musical performance by some great kids. Those are community building events if we utilize them to create that relationship. And community relationship is what makes communities and kids thrive.
This next question will be 1 minute. What is one thing you're really excited about doing as a D49 board member? Marie.
That's hard. I'm excited about being able to champion our district and talk about the great things that are happening for all of our students that have been overlooked. All of the different programs that we offer our kids, AeroLab, where we have kids being trained as pilots and aviation mechanics, and the culinary program and the trades programs, and the rate that we have for concurrent enrollment, and all of the ways that our children can be successful and find their path that I think have been overshadowed and overlooked. Because I think when more people find out about what we can offer our kids, more parents will help their children find the fit for them, and will have kids be more successful and more engaged in school. And that, to me, is the exciting thing.
Thank you. Candace.
I kind of agree with Marie. The choice thing is fabulous. When my kids were growing up, we did not have this. But to think of the kids showing up and having all these choices before them and talking to the community and bringing in more choices and talking to parents we might not agree politically or whatever, religiously, but we listen and we can learn and we can pick up different ideas to offer help to our students. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute. How can you help grow District 49 enrollment and outcomes?
Well, we have a fabulous district and we can promote it. We can also offer more choices and invite parents in. We need more parents at the board meetings. We need more community events. And if we do that and we pass the MLO, ballot issue 4C, correct? Then we'll have a bigger pool of qualified teachers, better teachers, scores will increase, everything will increase, and we'll have a wonderful community of the businesses, the parents, and the increased choices that our students are allowed.
Thank you, Marie. Same question, 1 minute.
So enrollment in D49 has been explosive for a very long time, and we have a hard time keeping up with it. So it's really about managing enrollment for our district, which is a part of the choice strategy in engaging with our charter schools, which are about 50% of our education. In terms of outcomes, I think we need to talk about what the definition of outcome is. That has been used as a code word for test scores quite frequently, but outcome to me isn't just about an individual test score. It's about how successful are our students when they leave our district, whether they choose to go to college or, like my daughter, choose to enlist in the military. I think that we need to look at how successful our students are doing in that post-secondary workforce and use that as our guidepost. And ask families and students, are we meeting those goals for them? Are we helping them find that path that gives them a success in adult life? And if not, how do we fill that gap? And I think that's what leads to better outcomes overall for our community.
This next question will be 2 minutes. What is the best way to address differences between the board and administration, Marie?
I think you have to have, first of all, a collegial discussion. Second of all, discussions need to be evidence-based. So when we're talking about differences, we need to define what that difference is. Sometimes it's a matter of making sure perspective is understood, because the board's role is in part to bring the community's values to the administration and ensure that what's happening in our district reflects our community. But the administration is also the expert in their field, and we need to respect that expertise, ask questions, and learn more to be able to resolve what those differences are. Ultimately, the board is a final decision maker as a body on many things, but we also have to respect the expertise of the people we've hired. Our goal should be to set the strategic priorities and to empower the administration to do what they need to do to meet them, not to micromanage it.
Thank you. Candace.
Again, I agree with Marie, and it's communication. The superintendent works for the board. We need to hear what he has to say. We need to understand his words, figure out how to implement it or help him implement it. And again, respect and dignity. We have to have that with the parents, the administration, and the teachers. But we can all work together to get this put together and have a collegial relationship.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute, and it'll be Candace first. How can you work with other board members to collaboratively make board meetings boring again?
Well, that was my goal when I ran, to make it boring again. When you work with someone, you have to talk to them and hear them and listen to them and maybe go out for a cup of coffee afterwards. But there's many things you can do. You don't have to be rude. You can ask questions. You can take notes. But you can work together and come to a consensus that works for the students and the kids.
Thank you. Same question, Marie.
I think it goes back to that cultural compass and the values of how we treat our work, which are supposed to be with respect, care, trust, and responsibility. One responsibility is to read your packet and make sure you understand the material that's being presented, and then respect one another, and respect that you may have a different perspective. And that's where listening comes in. And when we can trust that you may have a different perspective, but we're all actually here because we want to do what's best for kids, that is the foundation for everyone being able to work together, even if we disagree about something. And you can disagree with someone and disagree civilly and respectfully. That doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but we also have to be able to have that basic foundation of trust where we believe we're all coming from a place where we believe in our kids and our district and want to make it better. And then it's about doing our job well by reading and coming prepared and treating one another with respect and care, because we are human beings, and by definition, we all have that deserve that dignity and respect.
This question will be 1 minute. Could you support a board decision you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not? Murray.
Yes, I have a history of being able to do that because I have been in the minority previously. And that is one of the toughest things for people to understand on the board is, as individuals, we have no power. We have a power only as a majority through a board vote. Once the board has voted, a decision has been made, and everyone has to work to make that decision successful. I have an 8-year record of being able to do that. I'm the only person running who has that kind of public record that can be questioned. And there are plenty of examples of where I disagreed, but then was able to move forward and work with everybody to make sure that what the board decision was upheld.
Thank you. Candace.
I think that's the purpose of the votes, is to talk, understand, and learn about the issue. And if I vote against it and everybody else votes for it, that's the way it is. I might learn something. Maybe I was wrong in my opinion, but we can all work together, and I'll have to deal with it, and I will deal with it. If I am 4-1, I'll have to learn.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute, and we'll start off with Candace. What are your views on educator salaries and benefits?
Besides being a parent, teacher's probably a number 2 job. It's hard. A base salary is also very good. They're also constantly buying things out of their own pocket. Perhaps we need to put some kind of fund together so teachers can pull from it to buy stuff for their class. But benefits would be very key as well. Teachers get stressed out. They need to just take a month off to recover. But with salary, a good salary, we'll have quality teachers, or a bigger pool of quality teachers to pull from. And benefits, I think mental health benefits needs to be elevated. It's hard to be in a classroom with a bunch of 14-year-olds all day long. And sometimes you need just some time off. So I think it's important that we pay them well and give them good benefits, and they'll stay and they'll support the community and the students.
Thank you, Marie. Same question.
Salary and benefits are key to keeping any employee. The issue that we will always have in that, and why passing this MLO is so incredibly important, is that we don't have a way to raise salary if we can't increase our budget. And our state is one of the lowest paid in the country, and District 49 is one of the lowest paid in our area because we have the smallest local share of MLO. And we need to shift that so that teachers can pay their bills. They go into this profession because they love kids and they want to work with them. They can't stay in it if they can't pay for their own children's food. So, and it literally can come down to that decision. Our teachers' salaries can qualify them once they have a family for affordable housing. So that lets you know where, and they have college degrees. So when we look at what that income bracket means if they leave education, it's very different. But we need our community to support that so that we can better pay them.
In 1 minute, how will you increase the educational experience of the students in this district? Murray.
I think the first key to that is investing in our teachers, because we have to stop the revolving door. And so when we have to spend money on training teachers who are new to the profession, because we have to keep hiring new ones who then get that training and then leave to earn more money somewhere else, that money can't be used to enhance student programming. And so that's why it's important to stop that revolving door. We also need to be asking students about what options they need that we're not currently offering. What are the other things? What are what are the pieces we're missing. So there may be some missing pieces. There may also be pieces where it's more about educating our students and our families about what choices are already present and how to help those families access them. Depending on families' backgrounds and the length of the time they've been in our district, they may not know all of the options that are there. And so I think those are the few things we have to do in the very beginning.
Thank you. Candace.
You repeat the question? I want to make sure because I'm almost verbatim with Marie.
How will you increase the educational experience of students in this district?
What she said is very true. You have to pay your teachers. You have to hear their interest and their needs to keep them so they're experienced in the area and in the protocols in this district. And then the choices are just phenomenal. So if you have the choices for the kids and the high-paying teachers, the district will bloom. And that's all you can ask for. And you have to, again, talk to people. Like 3 or 4 words could trigger an idea for another choice. And that's what we need. We need communication, high-paid teachers, and choices to keep the kids involved.
Thank you. Candace, this question will be 1 minute audience question. How will you specifically support LGBTQIA plus students in the district?
Diversity is beautiful. You have creativity, you have intelligence, you have beautiful, all I can think of is colors and blooming flowers. And we have to approach that and learn from these kids and let them flow through the society and hear them and talk to them and not shun them. Nobody can help what they are. Nobody on this earth can help what they are. And again, diversity is beautiful. Listen to them, hear them. Prevent bullying. Stop hatred. I don't know, it's totally soul-sucking to be treated so miserably because of the way you are and you can't help yourself.
Thank you. Marie, same question.
I think it starts with the cultural compass again and recognizing that every single person uniquely owns their own humanity and deserves dignity and respect. And if we start from a place of dignity and respect for the individual and who that individual person is, then it shouldn't matter what label we're attaching or that person identifies with. People within the disability community have the same struggle. My daughter is continually categorized by her disability instead of looked at as she is as a person. And I think it's the same exact issue. When we get down to, do you respect the dignity, the basic dignity of another person? It is about who that person is as an individual. And we need to we have to act with respect first and model it and demand it from one another in all environments.
In 1 minute, what do you see as the role for early education now that there is universal pre-K? Marie.
Early education is key to helping all children succeed in later education. UPK has created a unique problem for school districts because school districts are tasked with early intervention for children like mine who have special needs or at-risk factors that require a higher level of education of their teachers. They require actually a special education degree to be able to support those students. And within our school district, being able to meet that UPK need has been a struggle, and the struggle is providing adequate space and staffing. I'm grateful that UPK is available because parents can access it through other providers and not just our school district. And I think that that is what's going to help the program. But I do think that both the state and districts need to work together to find how we can make sure that we're serving all students, including the ones that the districts have to serve through IDEA before adding that next layer.
Thank you. Candace.
I think UPK is necessary. It's helpful. You can identify issues with children at that young age. Their minds are more like sponges. You can, if you get them that young and teach them that young, there's less problems in high school. they can learn better. And I think we need to have community outreach. I think we need to talk to everybody to get it, like Marie said, the community, whatever, to get it done. And it's, can you see these little 3 and 4 year olds reading? That there's just nothing more joyful than that. And again, it'll help down the road, let more peace in the school system if you educate the child at that age.
Thank you. This next question is 1 minute, and we'll start off with Candace. How can the board ensure that every school, public or charter, are supporting the needs of students with IEPs, 504s, and any other special needs?
Well, that's a difficult issue because right now we're down a few positions. If we pass the mill levy, we'll have a greater pool of teachers, of qualified teachers to fill these. I think that parents need to be proactive. If they can't get into the IEP program, perhaps they need to call the special ed department and say, what can I do at home? Is there a link or something you can show me so I can help? So when I can get into the program, my kid won't be behind. But I think, and then we get the SEAC that Marie's involved in, social, special education advisory council. And parents need to go to these meetings and get a stake in their kids' future. But we have a good program, and we'll get much better when and if parents work together and we get our extra teachers, our new teachers hired.
Thank you. Marie, same question.
I have a parent of children on IEPs, which is why I'm a parent member of the SEAC as well. And this is a challenge, and it's not just in District 49, but across our state. As a parent, I've been involved in SEAC and advocate from that perspective. As a board, we need to continue to advocate at the state level for appropriate funding. Special education is only funded at about 21% of actual cost, and that impacts what districts are able to do appropriately. And so many of our students are not getting everything they need because the funding is not there. This is something that is misunderstood by many in the education community, and we need to continue to advocate strongly for that funding model to shift, because if districts were fully reimbursed like they are in Wyoming, I think we'd see a very different landscape. That would also help in the charter situation, because charter schools would have necessarily automatically have a smaller budget. It makes it more difficult for them to meet those needs. That model would change that.
In 1 minute, what is your position on school choice and student choice? Marie.
I'm an advocate of both. As a parent, I have had my children in 3 different zones based on what they needed. No school can fit every family or every child. And so parent choice is what school we end up choosing to enroll our child based on what fits our family and our child. And then within that education, I think it's important for students to have a voice in that education as well, because ultimately they have to have the buy-in, and they will be engaged if they find that education relevant to who they are and what they want to do with their lives, and if it involves their passion. And so if we don't involve student voice in developing those choices, then we lose our students and those outcomes are impacted, and we're not really meeting those needs.
Thank you. Candace.
Could you repeat the question again, please, ma'am?
What is your position on school choice and student choice?
Well, Marie steals all my thunder. But I agree, you have to have multiple choices. Parents have to be aware of those choices and know their children so they get them into the right school so that their interests are peaked, they're happier kids. And then the students themselves have to choose, well, I'm here and it's more athletic. What can I do? It's an athletic slanted school. What can I do? Am I going to play football, basketball, whatever? But both are important and both can be done. And we have the ability to do it. And it's phenomenal for the kids and the parents.
Thank you. This is a 2-part question from online, so it'll be 2 minutes. We'll start with Candace and then go to Marie. What kind of opportunities do you believe your district has in future academic programs and offerings? And the second part of that question is, are there changes in present offerings you would recommend?
Well, I think we were talking about that before with community getting involved and local businesses getting involved to expand the choices. I think that's important and it can be done. What was the second part again, sir?
Are there changes in present offerings you would recommend?
I'm not as in-depth on what are the current choices. I haven't done as, I'm new, I'm trying to learn it, but I think we have a good set of choices and it can always be improved and expanded. And community and business and even local hospitals, local gyms, anybody can help expand choices for the future.
Do you want me to repeat the question? Okay.
So in terms of secondary offerings, we actually do have quite a few pathways that have been developed over the last several years. Culinary, trade programs. The Aerolab is now offering aviation training, both in terms of initial pilot licensure, as well as aviation mechanic. There's some robotics and engineering programs. Within each school, there are also Project Lead the Way pathways. We have certifications for EMT, CNA, and pre-med. Some IT certifications. And then there's also concurrent enrollment programs that allow students to pursue associate's degrees by the time they graduate high school, which is, I wish was available when I was a student. But I think one of the things that I would like to see is more de-siloing of those. So what programs you have access to in part depends on what high school you enroll in. And as a ninth grader, you might not really know what your jam is yet. And I know it's possible to go from one program to another or to attend. For example, you could go from Falcon High, be a Falcon High student and still participate in the culinary program. But I don't think those options are explained well enough to families or utilized enough for families to realize that they can take those paths. And I think that that's the next place in which we grow as a district, is helping people to see that you can be a part of your homeschool community, whether that's Falcon, Vista, Sand Creek, Banning, Liberty Tree, any of our high schools, and still access these amazing programs on other campuses so that you can have your full experience. You can be with your friends, which our teenagers want, and you can pursue your passion both. You shouldn't have to choose between, but how we facilitate that is the next question.
In 2 minutes, how would you hold district senior leaders accountable for achieving expected outcomes? Marie.
That is all about your evaluation process. So, and that needs to continue to improve. There, as a 5-member board, that can be challenging to do a really good evaluation and make sure that we come to a consensus about what those markers should be. But like anyone who's being evaluated, the first thing you have to do is set the bar and say, this is where we want you to get to. And then evaluate based on whether they're able to achieve those goals. To do that takes a board that's willing to work together and work together well, and a board that's willing to have conversations with the administration about what is a reasonable versus an unreasonable expectation. For example, it would be unreasonable to expect a school's scores to jump 30% in 2 years, right? So what is considered a reasonable amount, not just based on what they say, but show us some data that shows why we think that's reasonable or an unreasonable progress, and set goals and then hold them accountable through the evaluation process.
Thank you. Candace.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that because I don't think I'm as familiar with this at all.
How would you hold district senior leaders accountable for achieving expected outcomes?
Well, I think what Marie said is accurate. I'm not as familiar with this, but I think it's communication and reasonable goals. And don't know the evaluation process, but I imagine that is key as well. So at this point, I'm not as familiar with that as I probably should be.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute, and we'll start with Candace. Every year, millions of scholarship dollars go unclaimed by students going to college. How would you make the scholarship opportunity more known to students?
Well, when my daughter went to college, we bought a book. It's like that thick with like 4,000 scholarships. And she must have applied for 200 and got 0. So I don't know. We have the school board could buy a book, but you've got to go online. You've got to persevere. You've got to fill out every application. Are you a redhead and you play the trumpet? Somebody might have a scholarship out there. You've got to persevere, look for the oddball things. And again, it's not going to be a lot of money. because some of the things she applied for were 5,000 here or 200 there. But it takes a village to find these and fill these out. It can be done, and it should be done.
Thank you, Marie. Same question.
I think that that's something that we need to be discussing with our schools in terms of application support because of families' familiarity with both the college application process and how you get money to go to school depends on that family's background. I'm first generation college myself. My parents could not help me navigate that world. I had to figure it out on my own. And there are a lot of things that have changed in the 30 years since I went to school. So I think that that's a question we need to start asking our schools about how can we, for our college-bound students, help them identify what the right processes are and create maybe some type of a resource. And that could be something our schools do together. That could be a district thing that we look at in terms of post-secondary education. But I think that that's a whole project in and of itself, both in terms of getting into schools, identifying schools that match who you are, and finding the funding to go. And I think that that would be a great goal for our secondary system as we restabilize our counseling departments, which, as Jamie can tell you, has not happened. And Falcon High has had a lot of change in 5 years. And if we can stabilize that group of supports, then it becomes easier to build programs that we can help students then with that next step.
In 1 minute, what is your view on teachers and their current amount of classroom authority and control? Marie.
I honestly do not know the exact level of authority and control within their classrooms or what specifically the person means with that question, whether they mean curricular decisions or are they talking about disciplinary authority. So I think it actually depends in the current D49 model, it will largely depend on the building and zone they're in and what level we're talking about. So at elementary level, teachers probably have less curricular control because it's picked by the school. For example, the ELA programming and math programming are all school-wide. As we move up in levels, that shifts. So I think we need to be looking at what the levels are in each part of our community and look at how that's functioning. But I'm not sure which piece the person's trying to identify within that question.
Thank you. Candace.
Well, Marie's been around a lot longer than I have, and I don't know the depth of knowledge she has, and that's why we talked about in some of our meetings a learning curve, and I have a big learning curve ahead of me. But control in the classroom is divided into two parts, the behavioral and the curriculum. And as Marie said, lower levels, the curriculum is set, and the higher levels, it's a little looser, but behavior does change, and the teachers will probably be struggling with behavioral issues as the kids get older, and they need help and support in dealing with that.
Thank you. This is a question from the audience as well. How do you feel about a more diverse offering such as AP African American Studies at the high school level? And that'll be 1 minute.
Well, I think it's important to learn a little bit about everything. AP African Studies is full of knowledge, interests, stuff that a lot of our folks in District 49 don't know anything about. I think we should look at different exotic-like courses to bring to the schools, just to learn pieces of data that when you go out in the world, you can communicate with other folks. And I think things like AP African History is important.
Thank you. Marie, same question.
I support increasing the diversity of programming in our schools because that is what choice is about. If that's not a course you want your child to take, then you don't sign the form for them to take it. If it's a course that you want your child to take, you sign the form and let them. As a white adoptive parent of a non-white child, I would love for my child to have the opportunity to study more about the culture he is from a perspective other than mine. And sometimes those resources as a parent are hard to find. Also, we know that student engagement increases in school when the courses reflect their own life experience. So increasing the diversity of offerings that reflects the diversity of your student body actually will increase outcomes, increase those test scores that outcome is a code word for, because it increases student engagement in their curriculum. And again, this is all about choice. So if it's not a course you want your child to choose to take, don't sign the form.
In 1 minute, how do you plan to interact with our schools outside of board meetings? Marie.
I can plan to continue to be the mom I am first, which although I would pull back from some things, like it would not be appropriate for me to continue on the SAC if I was on the board. I would continue to be on the PTA at my kid's school. But I think also I would come to things like I did when I was on the board previously. I showed up at Everybody Reads Days and read to kindergarten classes and showed up in ways that were supportive when I was asked. To show that we cared about what was happening to our students and that we were supporting our teachers. I think it's important for that visibility. I think it's also important to be available to listen and to build those relationships, because it's through relationships that we can really make a difference.
Thank you. This question will be 1 minute, and we'll start with Candace. And this question came from online. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, repeat the question since my train of thought went, what?
Sorry. How do you plan to interact with our schools outside of board meetings?
Oh, I would love, visiting schools, I'm looking forward to that. I want to read with the kids. I want to talk to the kids. I want to go to the student boards. I did go to the walk and run this past weekend. I went to one of the high school's homecoming to-dos with my friend Lindsay. I also went to the special ed review. So so I'm out there. I want to go visit, walk and run, exercise, read with the kids, talk with the kids, learn from the kids. And maybe I can put a few words out there that they might pick up on and help them in the future.
My apologies. So Candace, this question is 1 minute. We'll start with you. And this question came from online. What are your thoughts on the current and proposed budget for District 49?
Well, I'm not as familiar with it as I probably should be, but the budget is fluctuating depending on the enrollment of the kids. And it's 83% teachers and 15% buildings and infrastructure. And there's a little wiggle room, I think 3% or something for wiggle room. So I think we have to just watch that and get more people to come promote us, like we were talking about earlier, and adjust the budget appropriately.
Thank you. Marie, same question.
83% of our current budget goes to salary and benefits, leaving only 17% left to pay for things like electricity and water and paper towels and soap in the bathroom and all of the maintenance on our buildings and basic needs and curriculum and training. So that budget is actually very tight. It looks huge and scary and seems like a lot of money, but I don't think people realize, for example, the Renaissance budget line item that is listed is not a social emotional learning line item. It is actually the STAR 360 and Renaissance testing programs that are precursors to the CMAS, which help our students prepare for CMAS and help our teachers know whether our students are reaching benchmark. So some of that, where people think there is flexibility, there actually isn't, because the labels aren't things that they actually readily identify with. So a first piece of that might be helping break some of those things up into plain language, to help our community understand.
Thank you. Candace.
Directed by you. Okay, would you repeat the question again?
What are your thoughts on the, oh no.
I thought I did. I thought I talked about the budget and then Marie talked about the budget.
What is your opinion on our current social emotional learning curriculums? Marie, in 1 minute.
I'm supportive in general of social emotional learning in our schools because what that really is what the military calls resiliency training. And military families are currently participating in resiliency training all over the country because it's what helps their families get through the trauma of deployment. It's what helps families like mine get through when their family member comes back with disabilities from the war, and deals with also loss. So these are really important skills. I think what's most important about the programming that D49 has is that it's determined locally at the school with parent and teacher and student input. So, for example, at Falcon High, when they were looking at various ones, it ran through the SAC. I read the entire thing as a parent SAC member. So parents are aware and involved. And we need those programs to help our kids develop the resiliency they need. That is the first step to avoiding the mental health issues that we're seeing in our teens.
Thank you. Now, Candace.
I think the program is extremely important. I think Marie knows a lot more about the intricacies than I do. But your children cannot succeed if they have questions or they're unhappy and they need cues and help to step out in the world and become well-rounded and meet the respect, care, trust, and responsibility. And these cues and help need to continue from UPK all the way through high school because everybody has their ups and downs, and I think the program is essential.
Thank you. And these are our last three questions, and I'm going to say the three questions because they're just like quick, rapid fire type questions that came from the audience so people can get to know you a little bit better. So the first question is one thing you would change in education. And we'll start with Candace.
One thing I would change in education. I don't know. For this district, I think more choices. That would be perfect.
Thank you, Marie. Marie, same question.
A place where every kid could be met where they are rather than where we expect them to be.
Okay, and then we'll start with Marie on this one. Your favorite book.
That's very hard. I have different favorites for different reasons, but Pride and Prejudice is my all-time probably.
Yes, I'm an avid reader. We're talking thousands of books, but over the years I enjoyed Jane Eyre and probably Black Beauty. I thought they were beautiful stories.
Okay, and then the last question, favorite podcast. We'll start with Candace.
Well, much to the chagrin of my children, I do not watch podcasts, so I do not have a favorite. I'm sorry to say.
I'm just as bad. I don't listen to podcasts either. I'm still running around after my 4 kids, and I'm just grateful when I can go to sleep without noise.
Okay, thank you so much. So what we're going to finish up with now is 1 minute closings for each candidate. We're going to start with Marie and then end with Candace.
I truly hope that you vote in this election, whether or not you choose to vote for me. But I also hope that you look ultimately at where our community is and who's willing to represent all voices and all choices in our community rather than just one path. I have been involved not only as a parent in the Falcon Zone for 15 years, my children at some point have attended 5 of the 6 coordinated schools in that zone, yet we have also choiced out of the zone for other programs that my children needed. So I value choice as well, and I supported many of the charter schools that are in our district now were originally approved while I was on the board. So I have supported that choice as well, and I would ask you to please consider whether the person you're choosing supports all students and all choices or only one vision and one voice.
Thank you. Candace, 1 minute.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for listening to me tonight. My job would be to enhance success for the students, promote the cultural compass, and advocate for respect and dignity. And I talk a little bit similar to Marie. I have a quote from Susan B. Anthony. She said, "Someone struggled for your right to vote. Use it. Please, please vote." Obviously, Marie and I would like you to vote for us, but if you get out there and you vote, that's half the battle. I'm Candace Lehman at CandaceForD49.com. Good night.
Sorry, my bad. Let's get a round of applause for those candidates. Thank you. And also a thank you to our moderators up here, Mike and Jamie. So thank you both. Woohoo! Right? Also, I want to say thank you to our co-sponsors, those of you that are in attendance, either in person or online. Thank you for taking the time to be an educated voter. Be sure and encourage everyone you know to vote, even if it's just the person that you work with that might be a receptionist who you have no idea if they're registered or not. It's a simple conversation. For some of us, it's a little easier than others, but share this forum with your sphere as well. Help educate voters. Those of us that are here, candidates, moderators, we would like to get a picture. League members, if you want to get in the picture, I need you up here as well. Other than that, thank you so much again for being here. Round of applause for everybody. Thank you.